I want an open marriage. Time to explore real men, my wife demanded. Sure, I replied. Then she lost it when our smoking hot neighbor wanted me. Months later, divorce papers were the final punch. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now, let's start the video. Hey Reddit, my wife wanted an open relationship and jumped straight into hooking up with other guys. Then she lost her mind when the neighbor she always hated flirted with me. I told her, I'm just doing what you wanted. She shot back with, that's different. It doesn't count if it's someone we know. So I stopped arguing and played the long game. Let her have her fun. Meanwhile, I secured everything and planned my exit. Here's how it went down. I, 36 male, have been driving trucks cross-country for 12 years. Good money if you don't mind the solitude. Until recently, I thought my marriage to Jen, 35 female, was decent enough. We've been together 10 years, married for 7. I bought my house before we got married, 3-bed, 2-bath, built in the 90s, but I paid $210,000 for it in 2015, and now it's worth close to $450,000. When we first got together, Jen seemed to appreciate my stability. I'd be gone for days driving routes, then home for a few. We had a system. She worked at an insurance office, handled cooking. I took care of repairs and yard work. Simple arrangement that worked. Practical division of labor that made sense given my schedule. Our life wasn't Instagram-worthy according to today's standards, but it was solid. We'd go camping up in the mountains, hang out with a small circle of friends, watch movies on weekends, normal stuff. I thought we were on the same page about what marriage meant. Partnership, loyalty, building something together. Then things shifted when her sister Vanessa, 38 female, moved back to town after her second divorce. Divorced twice, always chasing some new guy or life experience, the kind of woman who posts inspirational quotes on social media while her life is a complete train wreck. Suddenly, she was at our house constantly, filling Jen's head with stories about exotic vacations, weekend flings, and how life is too short to be tied down. I wasn't blind. I saw the changes happening in real time. Jen went from being content with our life to suddenly acting like she was missing out on some grand adventure. She started following all these lifestyle influencers, women in their 30s and 40s with suspicious amounts of free time and money, who were constantly traveling to Bali or wherever. I started noticing changes in Jen after that. Small stuff at first. Complaints about our boring routine. Comments about how I wouldn't understand certain things because I'm just a trucker. Like suddenly the job that paid for everything was something to look down on. The way she'd roll her eyes when I talked about saving for retirement or home improvements. She started making these weird comments about other couples we knew. Like, did you know Mike and Sarah are in therapy? Apparently they're working through some issues about sexual compatibility. Just dropping these little bombs during dinner like they were totally normal conversation topics. 3 months ago, she quit her job without even discussing it with me. I need to find myself, Dave, she announced one night while I was exhausted from a 14-hour drive. This insurance job is killing my soul. I'm meant for more. I was too tired to argue, just asked. What's the plan? Another job? School? Reasonable questions? I thought. I need some time to explore my options, she said, like she was a recent college grad instead of a 35-year-old woman with bills. I've been thinking about something that allows me to express myself. Express yourself on somebody else's dime, I thought, but didn't say. We had enough savings to float her for a bit, and I figured maybe some time off would help her reset. But apparently that meant scrolling Instagram and meeting Vanessa for endless brunches while I was on the road. Our agreement about splitting responsibilities gone. I'd come home to a dirty house, no food, an attitude when I mentioned it. Dishes piled in the sink, laundry untouched. Meanwhile, she'd somehow found time to buy new clothes and get her nails done twice a week. The worst part wasn't even the mess. It was walking into my own house and feeling like a visitor, like I was interrupting her real life. She'd be on the phone with Vanessa or some new friend, and she'd give me this look like, "Oh, you're back," before returning to her conversation. "Housework is beneath me." She actually said that once when I asked if she could at least load the dishwasher. It's so restrictive to my growth, I didn't make a big deal out of it. Just started doing everything myself, cooking my meals, cleaning, doing my laundry while working 60+ hours a week on the road, but I started checking out mentally. Spent more time with my buddies at the garage where we work on project cars. I've got this '67 Camaro I've been restoring for years. Nothing clears the head like working on an old engine. You don't have to guess what's wrong. You diagnose it, you fix it, it works again. If only relationships were that straightforward, then the fights became more common. I'd point out that she wasn't contributing. She'd call me controlling and financially abusive. I'd mention our agreement. She'd say agreements evolve and I needed to get with the times. I'd ask about her job search and she'd accuse me of not supporting her journey. So there I was, getting home from a 3-day haul, thinking it was just another Tuesday. Jen asked me to sit down in the living room. She had that look where someone's about to drop a bomb. "Dave," she started, swirling her glass, "I've been doing a lot of thinking about us." "Uh-huh." My stomach did a little flip, but I kept my face neutral. "I think it's time we explored," she finally said with a straight face. "Explore?" I asked, keeping my voice even. "Explored what? National parks?" She gave me this impatient sigh. "No, Dave. With other people, an open marriage." My brain short-circuited. This was Jen. My Jen. The woman who once got jealous when I mentioned a female truck stop cashier was friendly. Now she's casually pitching screwing other people like she's suggesting we try a new restaurant. "Wait, are you serious?" was all I could manage. "Yes, completely," she said with this weird brightness in her voice. "I think it could be really liberating for us. Bring a new spark. We both get to experience new things, new people, no secrets, it's all above board. This marriage is so restrictive, I want to explore others." My first reaction was anger, followed by this weird, cold calm. "So you want to sleep with other guys? Cheat without saying you want to cheat," I said flatly. "It's not just that," she stammered. "It's about freedom and growth for both of us. I want to see other men, more interesting men." "Interesting," I said, "like that CrossFit instructor you and Vanessa keep talking about." Her face flushed. Bingo. She'd been mentioning this Matt guy for weeks, how inspiring his journey was, how he'd quit his corporate job to become a fitness instructor, how he was really connecting with his authentic self, whatever the hell that means. We argued for about an hour, the usual points. She wanted experiences. I pointed out vows mean something. She said I was stuck in patriarchal thinking. I reminded her she used to value loyalty, round and round. She kept using these buzzwords: evolving relationship models, ethical non-monogamy, expanding our capacity for connection, like she'd swallowed a self-help book. Meanwhile, I was thinking about mortgage payments and STD risks. Finally, I just stopped arguing and decided to play the long game. "Okay, Jen," I said. Jen blinked. "Okay, just okay." "Yeah," I said. "If that's what you want, let's do it." She looked like someone who'd prepared for a war and suddenly found the enemy surrendering. Suspicious, but relieved. Let her think she'd won. That would make the next moves easier. Jen's shocked expression quickly morphed into a smug smile like she'd won something. "Wow, I didn't think you'd be so open-minded." She was practically bouncing. "This is going to be amazing for us, Dave. We should set some ground rules." I nodded. "Sure. What were you thinking? She jumped right in. Well, we should be honest about who we're seeing. No lying or sneaking around. And we should still prioritize each other, like date nights and stuff. Makes sense, I said. And maybe we start with just casual things. Nothing serious or emotional with other people. I just kept nodding, watching her lay out this framework she'd obviously been thinking about for weeks. Probably had the CrossFit guy lined up already. He'd been liking all her Instagram posts. Subtle. When were you thinking of starting? I asked. She looked away. Well, there's a gym social thing tomorrow night. Of course there was. Go for it, I said. I've got a 3-day haul starting tomorrow anyway. She was confused and seemed almost disappointed at how easy this was. She'd clearly been rehearsing arguments in her head, expected me to fight harder, maybe even wanted me to. The next 6 weeks were wild. Jen dove into her new lifestyle with enthusiasm. I'd respond with simple okay or have fun messages. Never asked for details, drove her crazy that I wasn't jealous. It was like watching someone live out a fantasy they'd convinced themselves was sophisticated and evolved, when really it was wanting to have sex with someone new while keeping your security blanket at home. Meanwhile, I was quietly putting my house in order. Called my bank and set up a new account at a different bank. Started moving small amounts over. Nothing suspicious, just enough to build a safety net. Documented everything happening in our marriage in a password-protected file. Scheduled a consultation with a divorce attorney during one of my longer hauls. I also stepped up my gym routine. Started doing heavy compound lifts, added cardio, lost 15 pounds of fat, started gaining muscle. Started taking better care of myself overall. Figured if I was going to be single again, might as well be the best version of myself. The attorney Mike had seen it all before. Classic case, he said after I explained the situation. She wants to have her cake and eat it too. Your house is premarital, so that's protected. No kids makes it cleaner. Keep documenting everything and don't confront her yet. Mike was this no-nonsense guy in his 50s. Divorced twice himself, ironically enough. Said his own experiences made him better at his job. Could spot the patterns because he'd lived them. Women like your wife, he said, leaning back in his chair. They think they've got it all figured out. Think they can have the freedom of being single with the security of being married. Doesn't work that way, that. I followed his advice, kept my head down, let Jen have her fun, and quietly prepared for the inevitable. About 2 months into this arrangement, the other shoe dropped. There's a neighbor, Amanda, 35, female, who lives 2 doors down, hot as hell. Fitness instructor type, always in yoga pants. For years, she'd been too friendly with me, according to Jen, who'd made jealous comments about it. Amanda would sometimes chat with me when I was working on my truck in the driveway. Simple stuff, cars, neighborhood gossip. I'd always kept it strictly neighborly out of respect for my marriage. Amanda was single, no kids, taught fitness classes at a studio downtown. One Saturday, I was changing the oil in my truck when Amanda came over. Hey, neighbor, she smirked, leaning against my toolbox. Haven't seen you around much lately. Been on the road a lot, I said, wiping my hands on a rag. She looked good, tank top, shorts, the works. She smiled at me different than before, more intent. So I heard through the grapevine that you and Jen have some kind of arrangement now. I looked up at her. Where'd you hear that? Small neighborhood. Jen's been seen around with that guy a few times. Pretty obvious what's happening. She shrugged, just curious if it goes both ways. Before I could answer, Jen's car pulled into the driveway. Her face when she saw Amanda talking to me priceless. Pure panic. She practically ran over. Dave, what's going on? Amanda smiled innocently. Just saying hi to Dave. Right, Jen said, eyes darting between us. Dave, can I talk to you inside for a minute? The moment we were through the door, she exploded. What the hell was that? You and Amanda? We were just talking, I said calmly, like we've done for years. Don't play dumb. She was practically undressing you with her eyes. I raised an eyebrow. And that's a problem because it's Amanda. The woman I've been telling you for years has a thing for you. I leaned against the counter. I thought we had an open marriage now. Isn't that what you wanted to explore? Her face went through about 5 different emotions. That's different. Amanda is someone we see all the time. It would be weird and messy. So your CrossFit instructor is fine, but my neighbor isn't? Interesting. It's not the same, she insisted. Matt is. He's just casual, no emotions. And you know, Amanda wouldn't be casual because she's had a thing for you forever. She'd want more. Jen was practically yelling now. I stayed perfectly calm. So your problem isn't that I might hook up with someone else. Your problem is that it might be someone who actually likes me. That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said, Jen. You're fine with me having meaningless sex with strangers, but God forbid I connect with someone who might actually care about me. The fight continued for hours. Her position kept shifting. First, Amanda was off limits because she was a neighbor. Then because she was Jen's enemy news to me. Then because open marriages should be about new experiences, not old crushes. I finally just walked out and went to the garage. Spent the rest of the day working on my project car. Gave me time to think. The next few weeks were tense. Jen continued her exploration with CrossFit Matt and apparently some other guy she met at a bar. Meanwhile, I was under surveillance. She'd randomly come home early when I was off work, started checking my phone when she thought I was sleeping, even tried to get the password to my new email account. I gave her nothing to find, which only made her more paranoid. The emptier the treasure chest, the more convinced she became that I'd hidden the real goods somewhere else. Classic projection. She was being shady, so obviously I must be too. My focus shifted entirely to self-improvement. I was hitting the gym 5 days a week now. Started reading books on finance and investment during my long hauls. Reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. Had actual hobbies again. I was honestly in the best shape of my life. Down to 185 from 215, bench pressing more than I had in my 20s. There's something therapeutic about pushing heavy weight when your life feels out of control. Can't fix your marriage? At least you can add another plate to the bar. The divorce lawyer became my unofficial buddy. I'd call him during long stretches of highway, update him on the latest developments, and he'd remind me to stay the course. Document everything, don't engage. Let her dig her own grave. Then Amanda upped the ante. She texted me one afternoon. Having a small BBQ this weekend, just a few neighbors. You should come by. Jen, too, of course. I showed Jen the text. Thought she might actually explode. We're not going, she snapped. She's just trying to get close to you. Maybe I want to go, I said mildly. Good food, neighbors, normal social stuff, while you ogle Amanda in her bikini. I don't think so. Interesting how you get to go on actual dates with other men. But I can't attend a neighborhood BBQ. That's different, and you know it different how exactly? She couldn't articulate it without admitting the hypocrisy. Just kept saying it was different and I was being deliberately obtuse. I went to the BBQ anyway. Jen refused to come. It was exactly what Amanda said. Just a few neighbors, good food, drinks, completely innocent. Amanda and I talked, but nothing inappropriate happened. One of the other neighbors, this older guy named Frank, who'd been in the neighborhood forever, pulled me aside at one point. Heard about your situation, he said, handing me a drink. Went through something similar with my first wife back in '92. These open marriage things never work out the way they're pitched. Someone always has an agenda. Frank had this weathered face that had seen it all. Vietnam vet, retired now, but still built like he could handle himself. The kind of guy who'd give you the shirt off his back, but wouldn't hesitate to tell you when you were being an idiot. How'd yours end? I asked. He chuckled, caught her with my so-called best friend. Turns out the open part was just for her, not for me. Classic bait and switch. He took a sip of his drink. Divorced her, lost the house because I didn't know any better back then. Best thing that ever happened to me, though. Married Helen 6 years later, been together 30 years now. When I got home, Jen was waiting. Did you shout her? Excuse me. Amanda, did you dumbass her? Don't lie to me. Wait, why would that be a problem to you? Didn't we open our marriage? Amanda is the problem. Yeah, sure. She was boiling. Checked my clothes for perfume. What TF are you doing? Seriously sniffing? The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Her checking for evidence of cheating while she had hickeys. She wasn't even bothering to hide. Stop lying to me, dear Lord. The next day, Vanessa showed up at the house while Jen was out with one of her guys. Just happened to stop by. Dave, she said, walking in without waiting for an invitation. We need to talk about what? I asked, not bothering to get up from the couch. About what you're doing to Jen. She's a mess. I actually laughed. What I'm doing to Jen, that's rich. She wanted to open the relationship to improve things between you two, to add spice, not so you could chase the first piece of ass that showed interest. Interesting. Vanessa sat down uninvited. Jen cares about you. She's just trying to find herself in other guys' beds. Don't be crude. This was supposed to be a mutual growth experience. Mutual, I repeated. So why is it a problem that I went to a neighborhood BBQ? Because your intentions weren't pure. You were trying to hurt Jen by eating a hamburger. Vanessa sighed dramatically. You're being deliberately thick. Jen knows Amanda has had a thing for you for years. It's disrespectful. And Jen screwing CrossFit Matt isn't disrespectful? That's different. That's just physical. There's no history there. Same BS, different messenger. I stood up. Vanessa, with all due respect, which is none, this is between me and Jen. You encouraged her to find herself and to open our marriage. Don't act surprised when it doesn't play out exactly how you imagined. That night, Jen tried a different approach. Came home wearing next to nothing. Tried to seduce me. I wasn't interested. What's wrong? She asked. I thought we could reconnect. I'm not in the mood, I said. Is this about her? She demanded, the seductive act vanishing instantly. No, it's about me not being in the mood. You're punishing me. I agreed to exactly what you wanted. 4 months into our open marriage, I was documenting everything. Every fight about her double standards, every time she came home late from being with another guy, every dollar she spent from our joint account on her new lifestyle, clothes, dinners, hotel rooms. I had a separate email account she didn't know about where I forwarded all our text conversations, screenshots of her social media where she'd post vague material about finding herself and exploring new connections while in the same breath complaining about trust issues and emotional betrayal when referring to me. The mental separation was complete. I looked at her like a stranger now. There was one night about 3 months in, when I came home unexpectedly early from a route. Walked in to find Jen and Vanessa sitting at our kitchen table with a bottle of seltzer water between them, planning what sounded like my financial execution. Just need to figure out how to get your name on the deed somehow, Vanessa was saying. Or at least establish that you've contributed significantly to its value. I backed out silently, then made a show of coming in loudly a minute later. They switched topics immediately, but the damage was done. These weren't just two sisters exploring modern relationship structures. This was a coordinated effort to take me for everything I had. My lawyer was building a solid case. In our state, adultery doesn't matter much for divorce, but financial irresponsibility and abandonment do, and Jen was checking both boxes. She quit her job, contributed nothing to the household, and spent our money freely. Meanwhile, I paid the mortgage on my premarital home, all the bills, and still handled the maintenance and cleaning. Classic abandonment of marital duties. But I played it cool, didn't confront her, didn't rock the boat too much, just quietly moved on and prepared. Meanwhile, my physical transformation continued steadily. My confidence was through the roof compared to where I started. Clothes fit better, posture improved. Even my boss commented on the positive changes. Whatever's going on with you, he said once, keep doing it. You're looking good, working better than ever. Amanda had become an unexpected ally, not romantically, but as someone who saw through Jen's BS. She was at the coffee shop yesterday. Amanda texted me during a haul to Cincinnati with some guy acting all Qley. Then she had the nerve to give me a dirty look when she saw me. Jen was living a double life. The devoted wife when it suited her, the single party girl when it didn't. I also installed security cameras in the common areas of the house. Completely legal since it was my premarital property. I didn't tell Jen about them. They captured her bringing guys over when I was on the road, something she'd specifically said she wouldn't do. Our bed is our space, she'd claimed when setting the initial rules. That rule apparently only applied to me. The cameras also caught her going through my desk drawers, checking my mail, searching for God knows what. Financial documents, probably, or evidence of my own indiscretions that she could use against me. I also overheard her and Vanessa bad-mouthing me in my own living room, planning how to handle me, discussing what they do with the house when the time comes as if it would ever be hers. I just need to keep him pacified until I figure out my next move, Jen said. I sent the recording to my lawyer. He was gleeful. This is gold, he said. Clear evidence of intent to defraud. Keep recording. I did. Every conversation, every fight, every lie, all documented, all saved, all sent to my lawyer. Meanwhile, my exit strategy was taking shape. I'd secured a storage unit for my important possessions, family heirlooms, documents, the small gun collection my grandfather had left me, anything that couldn't be replaced or I didn't want to risk losing in the inevitable chaos of separation. I'd transferred about 60% of our joint savings to my new account. Not enough to be considered hiding assets, but enough to ensure I wasn't left high and dry if she tried to clean out the accounts. I was waiting for my opportunity with Jen, and it was coming soon. 6 months into our open marriage, things were reaching a breaking point. Jen was getting sloppy, staying out all night, barely bothering to lie about where she was, spending money like water. I had strategically moved most of our joint funds to my separate account, leaving just enough for bills and basic expenses plus a healthy buffer she could burn through with her brunches and hotel rendezvous. Just enough to avoid suspicion. She hadn't even checked the balance once in months. Too busy finding herself to look at bank statements or question where the money came from since she wasn't working. Then one night, everything changed. I came home from a 3-day haul to find Jen and CrossFit Matt in our living room drinking and looking very comfortable. "Dave," she said with fake brightness, "you remember Matt?" Matt looked uncomfortable but tried to play it cool. "Hey man, good to finally meet you properly." He was exactly what I expected. Mid-30s, expensive haircut, the kind of muscles that come from focusing on mirror muscles and skipping leg day. Wearing one of those tech fabric shirts that cost $80 but are essentially just polyester. Seeing Matt there, feet up on my couch, that was bad. Watching him pour my birthday Lagavulin into a solo cup, that was the final straw. I sat down my duffel bag. "You're drinking my Lagavulin." Jen waved dismissively. "Don't be petty, I bought that bottle." She hadn't. It was a birthday gift from my brother that she had watched me open last month. But that wasn't the point. "You brought him to our house," I said flatly. "That was one of your rules. No bringing people to our home." "I think we're past that now," she said with an eye roll. "It's been 6 months. The rules evolved like they evolved about Amanda." Matt looked between us, clearly sensing the tension. "Maybe I should go." "No, stay," Jen insisted, putting her hand on his arm. "Dave's just being dramatic. This is my house, too." Something in me snapped at that moment. I was done. "Actually," I said calmly, "it's not." "Excuse me?" Jen's eyes narrowed. "This house isn't yours. It never was. I bought it before we were married. You've contributed nothing to the mortgage, taxes, or upkeep. Legally, you're a tenant at best." Her face flushed with anger. "How dare you? We're married. What's yours is mine." "That's not how premarital assets work in this state," I said. "But I'm sure Vanessa told you that when you were discussing how to take my house when the time comes." Jen's face went white. Matt looked like he wanted to disappear through the floor. "What are you talking about?" she stammered. "I heard you. You and Vanessa planning your next move, discussing how to claim my house, calling me a sucker." You were spying on me? She shrieked. Not spying, protecting my assets from someone who's explicitly stated her intention to take them. Matt stood up. I'm leaving. This is not what you said it was, Jen. She ignored him, focused entirely on me. You've been planning this all along, agreeing to the open marriage just to trap me. I actually laughed. Trap you into what? Sleeping with other men, having your sister over to plot against me, bringing your mud buddy to my house to drink my whiskey. Yeah, what an elaborate trap. Matt was already heading for the door. Smart guy. Don't you dare leave! Jen yelled after him. This isn't about you. But he was gone. At least he had the sense to recognize a Sid show when he saw one. Jen rounded on me. You've ruined everything. This was working fine until you got all possessive and weird. Working fine for who exactly? You get to run around while I work 60 hours a week to pay for everything. You get to bring men to my house while I can't even talk to a neighbor without being accused of cheating. That's your definition of working fine? I never cheated. We had an agreement. An agreement you unilaterally changed whenever it suited you. She tried a different angle, suddenly teary-eyed. I just needed to find myself, Dave. I was lost. This was never about not loving you. Save it, I said. I've watched you find yourself for 6 months. Turns out what you found was that you like screwing other guys while having a stable provider at home. Well, that arrangement is over. What does that mean? She asked, suddenly wary. It means I'm done. I've been done for months. I've just been waiting for the right time. The right time for what? Her voice had gone small. To end this farce of a marriage, I said. She stared at me. Then her expression hardened. Fine if that's what you want, but don't think I'm walking away with nothing. I know my rights. Half this house is mine, half your pension, half of everything. I smiled. We'll see about that. I crashed at a motel that night. By morning, I was on the phone with my lawyer. It's time, I told him. She brought one of her guys to my house, drinking my stuff. He was ready. Papers were prepped. Everything organized to maximize my position and minimize her claims. I headed back to the house to grab another round of clothes before I hit the road again. Jen was waiting like she'd been standing there all night. Red eyes, messy bun, and of course, Vanessa lurking nearby like her personal attack dog. They were suddenly all about being civil. Jen wanted to talk next steps. Apparently, she and Vanessa had already been scoping out divorce attorneys. The plan now was to do it amicably. Their words, not mine. Vanessa had the nerve to suggest that Jen deserved probably at least 60 or 70% of everything since I was clearly the one breaking the marriage contract. Pure delusion with zero legal basis. But they both nodded like it was established law. Jen acted like she deserved a cut of everything. Claimed she contributed by being present, emotionally supportive. The whole script. Vanessa doubled down, saying Jen had been the backbone of the household. I didn't even argue, no point. The reality was simple. She didn't clean, didn't work, didn't maintain a thing. Every time I came home from a haul, the place looked like a crime scene. I handled the cleaning, the bills, the yard, everything. Name one thing you did in the last 6 months, I said calmly. Silence. She couldn't name a single useful thing she'd done in the last 6 months. Her defense was emotional labor and some vague nonsense about presence and vibes. Here's what's going to happen, I said, zipping up my duffel. I'm going on my scheduled haul. When I get back in 3 days, I expect you to be making arrangements to move out. What? I'm not going anywhere, Jen declared. This is my home too. It's not, and I think you'll find the courts agree with me. We'll see about that, Vanessa said smugly. My friend Rachel is a divorce attorney. Your friend Rachel sounds like a shitty attorney, I replied. But hey, hire her. Should make this easier for me. I left them standing there, both convinced they held all the cards. The delusion was almost sad. 3 days on the road gave me time to prepare for what was coming. My lawyer filed the divorce papers detailing Jen's abandonment of marital duties, financial irresponsibility, and explicit statements of intent to defraud me of my premarital assets. He also filed for an emergency hearing regarding occupancy of the house. Using the security footage of Jen bringing another man home as evidence that her continued presence would be detrimental to the petitioner's well-being and property. When I got back from my haul, Jen and Vanessa were waiting with a document of their own, a handwritten list of demands. Dave acknowledges 50% ownership of the house, pays spousal support of $3,000 per month for 5 years, transfers 50% of his 401k to Jen, covers all Jen's legal fees, provides health insurance for Jen for 3 years post-divorce. "This is our starting position," Vanessa said like she was some hotshot negotiator. "We're willing to be reasonable if you are." I scanned the list and handed it back. "Yeah, nope." "What do you mean, no?" Jen asked. "That's not how this works," Vanessa snapped, her face reeling. "You think you can just throw Jen away after she gave you the best years of her life? You're pathetic." "Actually, this is how it works." I pulled out my own envelope and handed it to Jen. She opened it, her hands shaking slightly. As she read, her face went from confusion to shock to fury. "What is this BS?" she demanded. "These are lies, they're all documented. You've been recording me? Perfectly legal here and very informative, especially your conversations with Vanessa about taking my house when the time comes." Vanessa grabbed the papers, scanning them frantically. "This won't hold up. The house is marital property regardless of when you bought it." "Not in this state," I said. "Not with a documented history of financial separation and her contribution of exactly 0 to its mortgage or upkeep. You can't kick me out of my own home." Jen was nearly hysterical now. "It never was yours. And yes, I can and will." "I'll fight this," she threatened. "I'll tell everyone what you did, how you tricked me." "Go ahead." She started crying then. Those manipulative sobs she'd perfected over the years. The ones that used to make me back down, apologize, give in, not anymore. "You have until tomorrow afternoon to pack your essentials," I said. "The court will likely grant you a few weeks to remove the rest of your belongings, supervised." "This isn't over," Vanessa hissed, putting her arm around Jen. "You're right," I agreed, "but it's closer than you think." The judge ruled in my favor. As expected, the evidence was overwhelming. Jen was given 30 days to remove her belongings, but could not live in the house during the divorce proceedings. She moved in with Vanessa, who quickly tired of having her sister as a permanent house guest. Turns out living with someone who contributes nothing isn't as fun when you're the one footing the bill. Within 2 weeks, they were fighting constantly. My lawyer had connected me with a financial advisor who helped me protect my assets during the divorce. We documented every penny I'd earned, every investment I'd made, every bill I'd paid during the marriage, creating an ironclad case that Jen had no claim to any of it. Jen's lawyer, not Vanessa's friend Rachel, but a court-appointed attorney after Rachel reviewed the evidence and declined to take the case, advised her to accept the settlement offer my lawyer had prepared. "The house remains mine as a premarital asset. I keep my 401k and pension intact. I pay no spousal support. She keeps her car, which was in her name. She gets a one-time payment of $10,000, far less than she wanted but more than she deserved. She fought it initially, still convinced she could get half of everything. But as the evidence mounted and her position weakened, she eventually capitulated. The divorce was finalized 4 months later. The day she came to get the last of her things, she tried one last Hail Mary. Her makeup was smudged. She looked like she hadn't slept in a week, and her hair was in that messy "I'm having a breakdown" bun. Vanessa had apparently kicked her out. Word was they'd been fighting non-stop. "CrossFit, Matt," ghosted her. "I still love you, Dave," she said, standing in the entryway of what was now firmly my house again. "We could start over. I've learned my lesson." I just looked at her. "No, Jen, that's not fair. I made a mistake. Goodbye, Jen," I said, closing the door as she left. That was 6 months ago. The divorce is final now. I kept everything that mattered. My house, my truck, my dignity. I ran into Amanda at the hardware store last week. We got coffee afterward. Nothing serious, just conversation. She asked if I was ready to date again. I told her I'm deliberately staying single for now. Life goes on better than ever.